I'm about to show you how it got to this point. I was going to have all this wrapped. This is all going to wrap black vinyl to match the seats that we have. This is going to be the charcoal gray. This is going to be a thin piece of metal, and I'm going to put wood on both sides of it, and then I'm going to treat that in a certain way. I'm not real sure yet, but this is just a mock-up just so I can see what it looks like. This is why I don't want to show it yet. This is going to be a surprise. It's going to match the bed floor. You might already have an idea of the video I'm about to show you, but you still don't know how it's done. So I want to show that, reveal that in the next video that I do when this door panel is finished. And then these are actually painted, how we're going to paint them. And a few little tricks and stuff on this door panel so it's not so just plain. But until then, enjoy the video, subscribe, like, send me a question, comment on how the process works. I hope I explained it, pretty clearly. But if you have any questions, just send me a message. Thanks. Enjoy the video. Okay, guys, the door panels are finished. We'll give you a little look-see here. Well, kind of hard to do with one hand. Everything looks good. Okay. You can see that on these, I did these a little differently than this side. This one I showed you in the video before that, where I actually put the magnet down. I mean, if I didn't put the magnet down, I actually did the panel, then I took it off, then I drilled a hole. Then I dropped the magnet into it, did a small piece of the fiberglass on top of it, drilled a hole through it, and put the washer on the outside. So it made it a lot more streamlined here, a little more low profile. I put 3 across here where the pool's going to be, so trust me, this is really hard right here with those 3 magnets. Here I did it just a little differently. I put the fiberglass over. Don't know, I mean, I guess it works. It's not as high. Looks good, looks okay, smooth enough. The foam on top, you're not even going to see it with the foam and design on top of it, but are very sturdy, very strong. Any questions? I mean, actually I thought this was kind of my idea, but then I also saw a video on YouTube where the guy Hammer Fab on YouTube. He did one and it was kind of partial. It wasn't a full panel, but he used the magnets as well. I haven't actually seen his finished product yet. He started those a little while back. I hadn't seen them yet. He's still building his truck. But I subscribed to him on YouTube so I could follow him to see how he does his. So with that being said, in the next video, once we get the doors mounted, then I can start doing my shape, my design, where I want to put the foam that comes from the dash and blends in. So that's going to be part of the next video. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my Raptor liner on the front of the truck and on the steps. Slight change on the interior, what we're going to do. But anybody building a truck knows that that's pretty much the way it goes. You have an idea and it changes as you go. Did a little cleaning yesterday. As you can see, the dumpsters. Got a lot more room, a lot more. My wife cleaned out our food storage, and yes, I acquired it. But more room to walk around. Cleaned up a lot of stuff, got rid of a bunch of junk. It just kind of accumulates at your feet. So after today and the video you see before me, you're going to start seeing a little more progress. Kind of wanted to get these doors out of the way and work in a business and my own business outside of this, which I do. I refinish tubs and countertops to look like stone. Refinished tubs look brand new. So if you're seeing those videos as well on this site, that you'll understand why. I know a lot of times in the past, people were shooting the tubs with automotive paint. They had a whole setup for auto paint, which I've seen it works. A little different process, but it works. This truck, all tub products. So I'm going to flip the script on this. Everything you see here, the black primer that's on here right now, that is actually my tub primer. It's what Lockheed Martin uses on all their aircraft. I have some more surprises with tub paint, which you saw in the frame. That's all my countertop stone and primer and clear coat. But I also put some stuff called Diamond Clear from, what was it, their name? KBS Coatings. They have so much stuff they're coming out with their frame stuff. Now, one thing I did do in my previous video is I polished this out. But what we're doing now is doing a hammer finish on the top of the truck. So I did a hammer finish on here, which it's the same hammer finish that I did on some other parts of the truck here. The differential, some of those stuff. Do a little 3 colors because that's what the truck is going to actually be painted, 3 colors. So we're going to do the Raptor liner here today, to here, around and down. So all this will be Raptor liner. This is going to be the hammered gray. It's going to go into the cab a little bit on the dash, so it all blends right here. Inside the door frame. When we do the door, because we're going to be cutting the door here with, not cutting, but with the line. So this will all be our midnight black, which is it's a metallic black primer that we use, and then from the line up it'll be the hammered gray, and then we're going to have a lime green stripe going around the cab to the front of the hood. It'll just be a stripe that comes across and stops as of right now, but like everything else, things change. So until then, if you haven't subscribe, like, questions, comments, I'm all about it. Until then, hey guys, got a little update for you. Now, of course, this is just kind of a rough sketch, if you'd call it that. I know I've got plenty of space between my door and my seat. I just cut some stuff out. I'm going to have a little rolled edge here along with this rolled edge. It's rolled here. Then it's going to taper down, and it's going to be smooth and blend into this. This is all going to be a straight edge in here. On the inside pattern here, I had this lower, and didn't really like it. So as this goes, this right here is going to be an inlay that I'm going to use that really thin plywood, the real thin stuff, and then I'm going to wrap that with a dark charcoal gray vinyl, and then I'm going to put I think just a makeshift pool right here, someplace for people to grab someone to grab a hold of. And then here, this part, this is going to be my secret that I'm not going to show anybody just yet. It's actually how we're doing the bed, which I mentioned it before. So I'm sure you guys may be able to put 2 and 2 together. But I want to draw this in to the cab, which I did in the bed back here, which you couldn't see. My arm just went like this. So we take all this off. Once we glued everything down, we just went ahead and just kind of shaped it a little bit. Just keep it flat. Now all this stuff, once we get everything designed the way we want, and we get these pieces laid out, it's shaped exactly the way we want, we're going to use the Aqua Resin. Now the Aqua Resin is going to make this hard enough that I can either paint it, put bondo on it, whatever I wanted to, and not melt my foam, and give it more rigid, a rigid shape. Because I want to do it on this door, like I think I mentioned before, because once you pull this door panel off, I don't want it to flatten out, or because the fiberglass is to this shape. I don't want it to morph into something else and then put all the hardener on it and then put it back on and it will fit. So whenever we get all that finished up, we're going to inset this. We're going to lay this down just a little bit on the inside of this. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I may come down flat, smooth, come up a little bit, give it more dimension with the smaller foam, the thinner foam, come up a little bit to inset it, and then do the same thing over here. Just kind of smooth it down and go flat here. You know, more dimension, not so flat. Give it more of an idea, more of a, you know, not just a flat board like a lot of them I've seen. Like the originals, they're all just flat boards with some tuck vinyl on it or whatever. So once I get this all shaped exactly the way I want, and then glue it down and put the Aqua Resin on top of it, sand that out to where it's as smooth as I want it to be. You got to remember, this adds hardly any weight whatsoever onto this door panel. The Aqua Resin, not much at all, because it's going to be kind of thin. Now there's going to be a few little spots here and there that we're going to need to fill with a filler, just because I want it to be smooth. Whenever it looks smooth, so we put the vinyl on it, it doesn't transfer back through the vinyl, and you see something in it. It's like putting something over this, and there's a piece of sand right here, and then there's always going to be a little bump in the vinyl. Still got to work on this part here. I've still got to feather this, and I glued this on last night, so I got to feather this and shape this and kind of blend it down, because this is a little too thick for the piece that goes here around the window channel. So I'm going to feather that down. And same thing over on this end here. I just added a piece here. Now there will be a little filler on some of this to smooth it out and get it the way we want and blend it in to the edges, around the edges here. But this is all going to be wrapped with vinyl. So when you saw all this up here on top, the vinyl is going to be wrapped. It's going to come across, it's going to go down in the recess, come out and come across. And then as it drops down into the center, that's not getting vinyled. All of this around the edges and all the way up to the top here, that'll be vinyled. We're going to do that in the black so it matches the interior, because I got some of the same vinyl from TMI that they used on the seats. This is going to be the gray vinyl that they used on this section here, this little piece here. And then that's my special piece. And then we'll see. I may do some little, I don't want to get too gaudy with it. Clean. I just want to see if this can actually be done. I mean, worst case scenario, I just pop the whole thing off and buy door panels from TMI. Do like them, but that's, I don't like to follow everybody else and then drive in and have the same door panel somebody else does. So keep watching. I'll bring you back when I come back. It's been a couple days because the weather's been really cold, and I knew the glue was going to take a little longer to set up. But I know it doesn't look like much now, but I got some of the transitions pretty much where I want them. I know I got to fill in some stuff, but I'm going to get the Aqua Resin on today, because if I put bondo on top of this foam to fill any of these little cracks, the bondo is a lot harder and it would sand the foam around it before it would sand down the hard bondo. Get the Aqua Resin on, it's a much harder product, and I can do some bondo work to fill some cracks and holes and blend this down. I think I'm going to blend this down smooth instead of leaving a lip here. I don't know just yet, but I wanted to give you an idea and show you. In this big open panel here, I'm going to have this, which will be done, like I said, in the dark gray. All this will be done in black vinyl, the same vinyl they did the seats in, and the same gray. So it's going to be done in the black, the gray, and I'm going to have some lime green. And I've still got a surprise and secret that I don't want to put out just yet for what I'm going to do in this section here. I wasn't going to do a door handle or any kind of pull. I was going to make a secret pull, but I'm thinking just for textural and looks, aesthetics, I may have something cool that I'm going to build that's going to go through this area here. It'll probably be the whole length to kind of blend with this length. I'm not going to do anything short, small, stubby. This, I need to decide whether or not I'm going to maybe cut some of that foam and drop this in there. I like the idea of it being up this height. Almost the same height as this. So what I might do is I might blend up to this and on this side so it still looks like it's recessed. It's all about dimensions and it's not so much a flat surface. I could Dremel a line through this and put that silver or chrome rod in here for more detail, or something else in here, which this is all being done kind of by eye, not one ruler or anything. Now I have used a ruler, I will take that back. I have used this ruler, but it was only to get a straight line. I have not measured. I have not, this is all by eye. Nothing has been measured. Like when I put these on, I looked at this line here. That was it. When I glued these on, I looked at the width of this right here. That was it. None of it. I just cut this out by what I thought I wanted as far as the thickness. Everything. Nothing was measured out. I did cut a couple of templates so I could repeat it on the other side. So you can see my template for that. So I can repeat it. I got a couple more right there. Mainly for this piece, that piece. And then I'll have a template for this because it'll be the same. And then this one will be the same. But today we're going to get some Aqua Resin on it. I did block this part right here, this section here, to get as smooth as I possibly could. And I did a little block in there. But once this all comes together, I'm hoping in my head, the way it looks will translate into this. So keep watching. Okay guys, I almost forgot to shoot this section here. The first coat's on. I didn't put any veil or anything in it like I did on the hood. This is getting pretty hard right here. This is just one coat, and I lightly sanded it down just to get any little spurs or anything off. And I made the next batch, and I'm starting to put that on. And I'll just give you a little idea here. This is the Aqua Resin. I'll show you the product in just a second. But you basically just put it on and just paint it on. And I would use a good brush on this to keep from getting minimal brush strokes that you have to sand out. it doesn't dry real flat unless if it's thick like this. It'll kind of hold its shape. But that's why you want to get a good brush. But there's going to be something on top of this to smooth it out even more. And I just went around the edges. And I put the paper, you see I put paper underneath so it wouldn't drip onto the door. And it'll come right off the paper. You sand it smoother. Okay, now I'll show you what this stuff is if you didn't watch my other video. It's called Aqua Resin. And it's really fine like a baby powder. And this is what hardens it. Now, you can see consistency of this stuff. It's like flour, I guess. Flour baby powder. I guess it's more like flour because it cakes together. It's real fine. Now, when you mix it, you want to mix it, and it mixes very easily. It's not like grout. It's got a lot of clumpy. So it mixes pretty good. And you want to kind of get like a, I guess you'd say a little thinner than pancake batter. That's pretty thin. And that's because I've got a large area to go over, and this will start to thicken up in the bucket. So I'll get one coat on real quick, and then I'll go back and start putting the rest and fill those little gaps right there, which you just it'll start to fill them up as you put it on. It may take a couple coats, or you can go back with a light body filler. Light body filler will fill it up. But when you brush it, you'll drag it out if you don't. So you just have to keep doing it just to fill it up. So once I get this coated again, I'll bring you back. All right, next day. I've done a little bit since the last video. I'm going to go over with what I did and what I plan on doing. I did on the bottom, you can see the texture in that. That is, let's see here. That's the veil. That's the veil with the aqua resin. It's really thin. It's not a pattern that's in the mat or the cloth and fiberglass. Here's a whole bunch of it right here. It's this. So it left a really cool texture. And I have to say I kind of like it. I wanted to see how it looked when it was sanded out, and this stuff is hard because of that veil. So I sprayed a little black primer on it just to kind of get an idea how it's going to look. And I'm thinking I'm going to leave this. Yeah, we're kind of a mess. This stuff leaves a big mess when you start sanding. But this is going to go right there. And I think I'm going to inlay that a little bit. More dimension, more texture. Today, you know, I did a little bit of filling. Got to do some more right here. Straightening all this stuff out and smoothing this stuff out. But today what we're going to do is a technique that I saw about a year ago on a video. And the guy's name, I think on YouTube, is Sprayways Customs, I believe. But he does a lot of door panels and fiberglass door panels and customizes and a lot of paint work for cars. And I learned from him, it's called Rondo. If you guys haven't ever heard of it, it's bondo and resin, fiberglass resin mixed. And I have to tell you, it lays out like glass. It's thin enough, you can brush it on, it lays out like glass. And this is how hard it gets. It allows you to brush it on without having to use the the little bondo spreaders and try to get it as thin as smooth as possible, and then a lot of sanding. So what this is going to do is it's going to fill in all these little imperfections from the brush marks in the Aqua Resin. Now, the Aqua Resin, I just kind of stumbled upon this. If you see this, when you do the brush and you sand it out, and then you say you put a color on top of it and sand it out even more, and it leaves it in these little grooves, this gives it a, which I've sanded it out a lot, it gives it a wood grain effect. So that's very interesting. Now, without the veil in this Aqua Resin, on top of foam, I've got 2 coats on here, but you could still, with a little bit of force, you could ding this. This is, it's protected, this is sealed. This is the reason why I use the Aqua Resin in the first place, is to seal this foam so I could put other stuff on top of it. Like this, because the bondo and the resin that's in this will actually kind of melt. And it'll also cause bubbles, because I did a test with just bondo on top of this foam, and it caused bubbles because I guess the gases or whatever was sort of melting, caused it to bubble up. So we're going to do the Rondo today, and I'm going to show you how to mix it up. But this is the stuff we're going to brush on, okay? Now, I'm going to just use this for my door handle. Pull that, my door pull. Okay, by the way, guys, once you saw the last video where I put the magnets in the fiberglass, it was fairly easy. You get your fingers underneath it and pull it up because it was flexible. The whole door panel was flexible. This, because it is rigid now, it is hard to get off. So I'm not even worried about having a door pull on here to, pull this door and the whole thing fall off. Because if you noticed in the last video, which I have a door panel on here, it is every little nook and cranny that's in this door, and on the top here it's got a lip so it's not going to fall down. It's on there, it's snug tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down here on the bottom, I'm going to put a little felt, a little strip here, like a nylon strip on each corner, and hanging down just, maybe about that long, about thumbnail long, just so I can get a grip on it and pull, and then it'll pop right off. Definitely pretty cool. Now, today, this is what we're going to do. Resin and filler. I'm not 100% sure. I did see a guy talk about this online yesterday, and he said that this, of course, bondo was the answer to lead they used to use in the cars and trucks in the past. The door panels got a lot more metal, a lot more, most of the cars were full of metal, thick metal, and they used lead to seal it up, but then the door panels got thinner metal, and lead was not such a good idea anymore, so the guy developed bondo. And from what I'm understanding, bondo is still resin, fiberglass resin with a starch, which thickens it up like a paste. And then the hardeners, which what they said was the hardeners, this hardener for the resin, this hardener for the bondo. So the reddish in this, when you mix it in the gray, you can tell when you mix it that it's a good mixed because it's all one solid color. So if you're having swirls in it, that means that it's not mixed completely. But he's saying that this and this are the same as far as hardening. And I did see a guy mix the bondo, the resin, in with that bondo, and then all he did was use the hardener, and it hardened up. So that just confirmed that these are both formulated the same way. I guess because you don't want to use this in the liquid, and you don't want to use this in the bondo. But that's pretty interesting. So I'm going to get this set up, and I'm going to show you how I mix it. Okay, guys, how we're going to mix this is I looked at the amount that I have to kind of spread out over there. So what I'm going to do is I've already pre-poured this. I've got, let's say, about 4 ounces. This is a mix that you're going to mix on your own, trial and error, depending on how thick you want it or how thin you want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this bondo here, and I'm going to put it in. You don't ever want to transfer the stick when you start to mix this up. Not that it would hurt it, because like I said before, this is basically the same stuff with just starch in it. Now, I'm going to start to mix it. You see it? Starts to thin out really nice. Just kind of get all the excess off the sides. Now, that's pretty thin for bondo. And what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more resin. Let me just do that real quick. Get this stirred up. Oh yeah, it's thinning out a little bit more. Now this will level out really nice. Now you're going to see cream bar hardener. Come over here and I'll show you how much we're going to put in. That should be good, because the more you put in, the faster it'll harden up. Oop, almost dropped it. And then this is the liquid, which I saw someone last night on video. They just added that and it hardened up fine. But I'm going to add, oh, is that not, that must not be my open one. This must be my open one. No, no, I guess it's not. Yeah, this was it. Not very much. Now you do not want to take this stick and put it back into the bondo, because it's got hardener and creamer on it. It looks like the color needs to be a little bit more. That should do it. You're going to see it around the top here is unmixed bondo. It has none of the hardener in it, so be aware of that. If you see any in the top of it, you can just use your finger to take it out. It should self-level. Okay. Now we're going to go over, set this aside, taking my chip brush, and then watch this. Now you can just pour this over the top of this and then brush it out, but I like to control. And I'm going to have a few minutes here. A little chunk there came off the side. Push that out of the way for a minute. And just brush this on. Now this is going to fill in all those little spots like this right here. And all these little you saw what up close and personal with that bondo. The phone actually got dropped into the bondo, Rondo. Unfortunately, we got to clean everything off and save it before this hardened up. So let's just get a little bit on here now. Now I'm just spreading this out. Now, once this dries up, you know, you're going to want to do a little sanding and blocking, or just take out any of, it's kind of cold here, so I'm hoping this is not going to bubble. But this is going to give you an idea of what this stuff does. I did a sample piece last night, and it turned out like glass. And I didn't check the hardness because I just went, how long it took to harden up, because I went to sleep. Because this is actually my first time to use this technique. Because this whole project on this door panel is, I got a couple ideas in my head and I just start doing it. It's by the seat of my pants. And I'm hoping that I like the finished product.
Everything you do always turns out really well.
Well, you're supposed to say that.
Nah, not really.
All right, you can see that it's already sheeting like glass. So I'm just going to leave that like that. And then I'm going to do the perimeter here. And then when it hardens up, we'll come back and we'll show what it looks like. So for now, I'll bring you back. Guys, just to let you know, because the wife dropped the phone into the bondo and I had to take the time to tear the phone apart and clean it up really well, the Rondo started to thicken up. So I did not quite get as far as I wanted due to the fact that it started to thicken up, which, you know, and there's getting bubbles because it's not as thin as I should have made it. But a heat gun pops them. I'm just going to have to watch this for a minute. A little extra work. But you can see how glassy this thing is leveling out. I may have some little time. I may have to mix up another batch after I sand this down a little bit. Block it out a little bit. And then we'll go from there. So I'll sand it out a little bit, see what kind of holes are left in it, because it evidently had too much Bondo. Like I said, this is my first time to do this, but look at that. Now that's definitely going to protect the foam. It's going to put a layer on top of that that's going to make it very hard. And it smooths out all the little imperfections. I will have to block it and sand it a little bit here and there and fine tune it. But other than that, I'm really liking it. So I'll bring you back when I get to the next stage. Okay, it's been about an hour and a half, and it's smoothed out. I actually came out after when I showed you that I didn't have enough because it started to thicken up. I let it tack up just a little bit, and then I mixed up some more, a little thinner, and then I brushed it on. And of course, some of the little bubbles, like only a few, you can see a couple of them that popped back up. But 99% of them are gone. I will tell you that this leaves on the surface. Now, if you let it dry a little longer, I mean, it's cold outside right now. It's like in the 50s. For something like this to dry harder without the heat. But I took some 80 grit, and once you get past that, because it'll gum up your sandpaper. You can see the sandpaper. Once you get that top layer off, it sands out really nice. It sands out really nice. So that's just going to be a little update for you right now. I'm going to get this all sanded out, get some of the little spots like this fixed. I'm going to use, since I have this on top of the foam now, I can just use regular bondo to just kind of fill in and make these edges sharper, and then shape this edge out here so my piece fits here smoother in my transition here. And then I'm going to put some more of the veil along this lip here and down the front, and then on this piece here that comes around, which is this piece. So this will help build this up a tiny bit so this transition looks a lot better, but it'll have this texture because I'm starting to really like this. I know it's hard to see. It's more of a, if you know what sandstone or some kind of a rock faux finish that you can do, it looks like that. And once I put a coating on this more of a satin finish instead of a high gloss, this will look a lot better. These will all pop out more. There's a possibility that what we're going to do is in my cabinet here I have a product. I don't have enough of this today, but it's the SMD Sunflash resin. Now, this stuff gives you plenty of time to brush on your fiberglass, get everything laid out the way you want it, large areas, and then you roll it out in the sunlight, and within 5 minutes, it's hard as a rock. And it is also crystal clear. It's not like the fiberglass resin over there, which is brown, amber color. I might even test a piece doing that resin on top of here, because then there's no paint on this, and that stuff is rock hard, and it can take a kicking when you're trying to get in and out of the truck if your foot actually hits it. So we'll see. Well, this is, I'm just building this as I go. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm going to tweak it here and there, and we'll see how it ends up until I bring you back, which will be in a second for you. What I'm doing here, this is all, like I've said before, this is all just trial and error, and things change as we go. But you can see this right now. This is just an idea. This is still not representative of what we're going to do, but I wanted to see something in here. Charcoal gray, maybe a thinner lime green stripe in here, but this is just on a piece of cardboard that I've made a template. I just want more visual. Since I'm not using any power tools and I'm not using any rulers to measure, everything is by eye. So what I did is I just took pieces of paper to get this exact shape here. I laid the piece of paper here, Did another piece of paper here all the way around and taped them all up. Got a stencil, pulled it out, and then cut my piece. Okay. This, I keep talking about how I'm going to inlay this into here. I'm not going to put it all the way in. I'm going to drop it about a 1/2 inch. But what I did with, I took my knife and I scored around the side of this. And then I started to chip away at it. And I have to tell you, it's, this stuff is held on really, really hard. I mean, it's on there. And it's hard to do with one hand. But I'm going to get this down, then I'm going to sand some of this out, chip it away, get the way I want. And then I may have to sand some of this right here to get this to fit down in here. I want it tight, so I'm going to start out really tight first. I know this one's taking a little longer. It's taking me about 3 days to get to this point, letting stuff dry. The next one, since I'll have the game plan already, will be a lot easier. So I'll bring you back.